Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughn Manor. So it is Tag Tuesday today, and I do have a tag for you. Today I'll be doing the in and out tag. It's a tag created by Rick McDonnell, but I'm not going to be doing Rick's version of the tag. It's pretty good tag. I've seen a few people do it. I'm going to be doing the Steve Donoghue version of this tag. He came up with his own set of prompts for this tag. It's kind of interesting, and I didn't want to do both of them because that would take like an hour to do, and this is already looking like it might be a little long. So I'm going to be doing the Steve Donoghue version, and these are kind of bookish tropes or bookish things, and you have to say whether you're in or out on these tropes or things, and why you're in or out on them. And so in Steve Donoghue's list, the first bookish thing is ebooks. Am I in or out on ebooks? I've spoken about this a little bit before. I did a video about my Kindle. And of course, I am in on ebooks. I think ebooks are a pretty good thing. I think their advantages outweigh the disadvantages of ebooks. I'm kind of surprised that there's still, this is still even a debate. You can do both. Your physical books, and I love physical books, they don't care if you're reading ebooks occasionally. They don't care at all, your books. You can go ahead and read ebooks. It's all right. You don't have to feel bad about it. I think the hostility to ebooks is kind of left over from when they first arrived on the scene and people were worried that suddenly physical books would stop being read or that physical bookstores would start disappearing the way record stores did. And that was an understandable fear for us bookish people. But that has not come to pass, and it doesn't look like it's going to. Nothing can really replace the physical book. But ebooks, they have a lot of advantages. Too many to ignore, frankly. And there's no reason you shouldn't feel comfortable doing both. And I think most people do feel comfortable in the world of both ebooks and physical books. So there. In. Number 2, silos. Silos. And what Steve meant by this is, do you just read one thing or one kind of thing and you pretty much stay in your silo, you stay reading this one kind of thing? I am out on that. I tend to read all kinds of different things. Mostly what I focus or have focused on this channel mostly is fantasy, science fiction, and horror. But I'll read history. I'll read all kinds of things. But those are my favorite things, and so those are the things that I've focused on the channel for the most part so far, and probably will continue to focus on those things, frankly. But yeah, I'll read all kinds of stuff. Evangelism. Do you evangelize about the books that you like? Well, I do have a BookTube channel, so yeah, if I really like a book, I will evangelize about it and tell you all about this book. Sure I will. It's the only kind of evangelizing that I will do, being a strictly non-religious atheist. I'm not going to evangelize on much other than books. Books I will. So yeah, I'm in on that. Number 4, palate cleansers. If you read a giant book or about a certain thing, like one of those gigantic fantasy books that are so popular, will I have to, or do I want to read something different to kind of cleanse my palate? And yeah, I guess I'm in on that. Not so much because I can't or don't want to read the same thing. It's just that there's so much stuff that I want to get to that I tend to jump from one thing to another. But sure, I'm in on that. Yeah. Number 5, promiscuity. Of course, he's talking about books here. And what he means by this is, do you read a bunch of different books at once? Or do you only read one book at a time? I am not promiscuous. I'm not promiscuous when it comes to books. I have to read one book at a time. I've got OCD, and one of the ways it manifests itself is that I have to read one book at a time. If I don't, my brain will explode. I've tried it, and my brain has come close to exploding. So yeah, I have to read like one book at a time. I have to read it from beginning to the end, and then move on to the next one. It's a whole thing. It's the only way I can do it. Yeah, it has to be one book at a time for me. Number 6, binging. If I like a series, for example, do I binge the whole thing at once? I have done that. So I guess since I have done that, I guess I'm in. I could see myself doing that if I really, really was seriously liking something. But I don't usually. Simply because there's all kinds of stuff I want to get to. But since I have done it in the past, I guess I'm sort of in on that too. Completism. If I'm really intrigued by an author, do I feel the need to read everything that author has written? Perhaps even included letters and things like that. Completism, yes. If I'm really intrigued by an author, I will hunt down everything that author has written. I've done that with Robert E. Howard. When I discovered Robert E. Howard as a younger man, I had to hunt down, and back in those days it wasn't as easy as it is now, but I had to hunt down everything this author wrote, and I did. H.P. Lovecraft was the same. I read, God, everything. I've read travelogues, whole volumes of letters. I feel like I know Lovecraft personally because I've read so much from that author. And then there are other authors that are the same. Raymond Chandler, for example, did the same. So yeah, I guess I'm into completism on specific authors that I'm intrigued by. McCarthyism. Do I feel the need to research or vet an author to make sure that their opinions are in line with mine before I will read them? No. Very often I will read books by an author knowing absolutely nothing about this author or this author's political views. Usually I don't care that much about that kind of thing. There are exceptions. So I'll add a caveat to this. If I know an author is anti-gay, for example, or racist, or really sexist, or something like that, and they're so open about it that I've heard about it, and I've heard what this author has said, and yeah, they're sexist and racist or whatever they are. In that case, I'm not going to, and it's a living author, of course. If it's a dead author, they can't profit by my reading their work. But if they're a living author, they can. And so if they're that way, I'm not going to give this author my money. Now, Steve Donoghue has, in his video, he kind of mentions that kind of thinking, and he doesn't really go for it. He mentioned that reading is not a social club. Well, yeah, I guess not. But if you're actively speaking against a certain group, for example, perhaps, let's take just an example. Let's say you're a trans person, and your life is made more difficult because this high-profile author is saying things that are anti-trans, and it's affecting your real life, because it does. It's easy to kind of brush off this kind of thing if it doesn't affect you. But trans people right now are probably the most vulnerable members of society. For a lot of people, it's still okay to speak bad about them or to make fun of them or whatever. And that has real world consequences if you're a trans person. Trust me, your life is already going to be difficult enough. You don't need this high profile author making it worse. So I am not going to give that author my money. Screw that author. I'm not going to talk about this author on my channel. I'm not going to, and if other people really like this author, for example, I'm not going to get on their case about it. I'm not going to mention it at all. But I'm not going to give this author my money. No way. I'm not going to support this author, for example. So yeah, I mean, if that makes me a McCarthyist, okay, I'll take it. But I don't think it does, really. Number 9, security blankets. Do you take your book with you wherever you go? If you're reading a book, do you take it just everywhere? I've been known to do that. I will carry my book pretty much wherever I go. If I'm going to a doctor's appointment and I know there's going to be some time where I'm just hanging out, yeah, I'll take my book whatever I'm reading there. Take my book in my bag every day when I go to work. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of in on that. Stalking. Do you follow an author closely? Do you go to book signings and that kind of thing? I have gone to a couple book signings, but I don't really think that I'm a stalker. Usually, I don't even know if the author I'm reading, even if I like them, are alive or dead, frankly, most of the time. But then that's probably because I mostly read dead authors. Tourism. Do you go to the places that an author mentions, or perhaps where an author has lived? Yes. I'm all in on tourism. I've done that. Robert E. Howard's an example. Robert E. Howard, the great creator of Conan the Barbarian. I've been to Cross Plains where Robert E. Howard lived. I've been to the house where Robert E. Howard wrote his stories. I've seen his tiny little room where he wrote these huge epic stories. Yeah, I have done that. And it gave me a new perspective, a different perspective on his work. And the same can be said for other times in my life. Because I'm very interested in ancient Greek and Roman history, I've been to Greece and I've been to Rome, and I've visited the archaeological sites. I've gone to the museums to see specific artifacts in both Greece and Italy. And again, because I'm really interested in ancient history, those things and that experience gave me a new insight. It helped me look at those works in a different way, a fresher way. So I think there's value in that. So yeah, I'm all in on tourism. Day tripping. Do you go and take your book and read outside, maybe have a little picnic? Yeah, I've done that kind of thing. I like to read outside when the weather's nice. Sure I do. I've done that. Collecting. Now, I think Steve is mostly thinking of like the collectors who will like buy specific books and never touch them. Maybe put them in a glass case or something. That I don't do. I buy a lot of books though. And I compulsively will collect specific authors for some reason, which is probably why I've got so much Sherlock Holmes and so much Lovecraft and Edgar Rice Burroughs. Man, I've got so much Edgar Rice Burroughs. I have multiple copies of most of his books. I don't know why. It's a compulsion, but it's not like collecting where like I display this stuff or anything like that. So I'm kind of in and out on that one. Organizing. I should be in on this, but I am out. I should get in on that though, because organizing would help my life. Number 15, hate reading. Do you deliberately read an author or a book that you know you're going to hate just to evaluate it critically, and maybe your mind will be changed by hate reading this book? This is easier for a guy like Steve who can read a gazillion books an hour. I'm a bit slower than him. So I don't have so much time to like deliberately read books that I know I'm going to hate. Although I do see that there is value in that. I probably will read more Faulkner, for example, even though I couldn't stand The Sound and the Fury when I read it. I probably will give it another look, as well as some of his other work, just to see if... Because apparently I'm wrong on Faulkner. Everybody's like, oh, Faulkner's the best. And I'm just like, what? It's incomprehensible. But I'll give Faulkner another try. Because apparently I'm just missing something. Annotating. No, I buy my books pre-annotated. I tend not to do that. You know. Revisiting, which is... Revisiting, he means basically, is if there's an author that you've read, do you revisit as opposed, not just reread, but do you revisit this author to reevaluate the author, see if there's something new you will find in this author. I'm thinking on revisiting, he's thinking maybe about an author that you've read some time ago and maybe want to revisit and reevaluate your opinions on this author. And I do that, yes. Again, I think there's value in that. Excuse my snoring dog if you hear little Pumpsy snoring over there. She snores kind of loud. Where am I at? I'm at number 18 now. Overdosing. Do you overdose on reading? Do you like just read all day and night? I wish I could. I would like to overdose on reading. I just don't have the time. I mean, even on my days off, I don't have the time. I've still got so much stuff I've got to do that I just can't. I would like to. I would like to just read all day and all night and just like pass out with a book on my chest or something. I would love to do that. I remember times in my life where I was able to do that. And yeah, I did it. So I would be in on overdosing if I could be. I just can't. Number 19, sub-vocalizing. Steve Donoghue is not a fan of sub-vocalizing. Sub-vocalizing is basically when you read a book, is there a little voice in your head that's kind of going along with the words as you read them, sort of like an audiobook in your brain, going at the speed that you basically read. Steve Donoghue correctly points out that you don't have to do this, and in fact you don't do this when you're just reading things like signs or maybe an instruction manual or something like that. You tend to just go right through it without sub-vocalizing. I do sub-vocalize, but not at the speed that you would speak the words. It tends to be quite a bit faster, I would think, than that. But yeah, there is a little voice going along with the words when I read. I actually like that. To me, that adds something to it. I could see why Steve Donoghue would not, because he does this sort of thing for a living, and he has to get through books quick. Because, you know, he's a book reviewer and an editor, and he has to get through books quick. So he could sit down and in a couple hours maybe knock out a book that would take me days. But that's okay, because I don't have to get through books quick. I don't have to. I can take my time if I want to. And to me, the sub-vocalizing adds a richness to the experience of reading for me. I mean, I know I do it. I don't think about it, but it happens when I'm reading. So yeah, I guess I'm in on sub-vocalizing actually, because I can. I have that luxury. And number 20, BookTubing. Has BookTubing affected my reading? Of course it has. Do I get ideas about what I'm going to read from BookTube? You bet. Yeah. Jeremy Fee, for example, is always getting me to get books. A lot of people do. A lot of the I'm subscribed to so many BookTube channels now, and a lot of them are really, really good. And a lot of them will talk about books. I'm thinking, man, I've got to read that. Don't know when I'm going to get to all that stuff, especially with like 9 million reading projects like I've got right now. But yeah, it has definitely affected my reading. So yeah, and that was all of them. That was 20 prompts from Steve for his in and out version, his version of of Rick McDonnell's in and out tag. I might do Rick McDonnell's tag, his original version of this tag next week, maybe, unless some other tag comes up and I'm actually tagged by someone. Then I might do that. But otherwise, I'll probably do the in and out, the original version next week, if you want me to. If this really sucked, just say, dude, this sucked. It was boring. You took 20 minutes on this tag. Shut up, man. Then I won't. Just let me know. So yeah, that was that tag. I hope you enjoyed it. I will catch you next time here at Stately Von Manor. Bye, guys.